Welcome to Time to Teach with Tammy, the podcast that gives tips, advice, and suggestions to teachers by a real teacher. So sit back and enjoy. And oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. And we're back with another great episode. This is part of Series 5, student-centered, although this is one of those tiny topics, so it does not actually fall within the series, but it is going to be aired and published during that series time. So as you're probably aware now, I'm not giving an episode number in the beginning because I batch my shows and I never quite know when I'm airing it, so I don't know what number this will be. So it's a surprise for me, and at this point not a surprise for you because you will have already discovered that. So today's tiny topic, and reminder, tiny topic does not refer to the length of the episode, rather the fact that it's a topic, it's an off topic basically. It does not fit into the actual topic of the series. So anyway, today's tiny topic is all about Twitter. So why you need to be on Twitter. Twitter has become my new best friend. I mean, it's very curious to me. In the summer, my goal was to really get to know a little bit more about Twitter in terms of just using it more. I've actually had a Twitter account for years, really, as sad as that is, years, and I used it once in a while. I had time periods where I was more active on Twitter than not, as I was really trying to find my Twitter self, if that's a thing. I don't know, making it a thing, so it's a thing now. Find your Twitter self. And so I started to use Twitter several years ago, and there was a period where I was, doing a couple of Twitter chats. I would tweet things out, but I was playing around with it, and I really still didn't see and hadn't found the power of Twitter. And then I kind of stopped using it for no real reason other than the fact that I hadn't found the power of Twitter. I guess that's a pretty good reason. I mean, I feel like if you don't know the power of Twitter, it's not going to really compel you to use it if you don't yet really know what you can do with it. And this past summer, that would have been 2017 summer at the time of my recording, I made it a goal. That was my personal goal. I'm always making goals, whether they're professional or personal. I'm one of those people. I am addicted to self-improvement because that's better than the alternative kind of addiction. So yeah, always trying to improve in some way. So that was my goal. And I don't know if that really improves yourself by trying to be more active on Twitter, although you'll see later in the episode I will argue that professionally it does. So this summer it was my goal, and I fell in love with Twitter. I really did. It has really changed the way I'm seeing things, doing things, thinking about things. So that is what today's tiny topic is all about: Twitter. Why you need to be on Twitter. But before I go into that, before we actually officially, technically, formally, is there any other word I can throw in there, begin the show, I have a brand new segment. I'm so excited about this. This new segment is called Wins and Fails for the Week. This is where I reflect on my school week and share with you. So in some ways, this is purely selfish because it's me reflecting on things to help me to grow as a teacher. But I am hoping that by sharing this segment on the show, it is going to maybe give you a little piece of something that you can take with you and learn from. So let's go ahead and start the brand new wins and fails for the week segment. Okay, my big win, and actually this is a win over the last 2 weeks. So I was in a Twitter chat and I saw some conversations going on of some things that teachers were doing, and then we ended the chat with, what are you going to try this next week? So one of the things that I saw that I really wanted to try, although I modified, boy, I think I am the queen of modifying. I take everything I take and I twist. I kind of twist it to death, although in this case it wasn't twisted to death, it was just a slight tweak. So teachers were chatting about sending notes home to the parents, or like a phone call to the parents, touching base with all students' parents for the week and giving them some kind of a positive note or positive brief about the child. So I took it, twisted it, tweaked it, turned it into my own, and I thought, ooh, I'm going to leave like a little note for each student throughout the week. And I'll encourage them to like make sure mom and dad see this as well. So it is kind of also to the parents, because of course the parents get very happy if they see something positive about their child. It's positive for them as well. So I thought, like, how can I do this that's going to make sense for me? Because I really believe everything that we hear about, oh, try this, try that, you have to find a way to make it work for you. Because sometimes you get these ideas and you're like, yeah, but logistically, how am I going to make that work for me? So I think we need to let teachers know that when you're trying things, feel free to make it work for you, because I think that's the whole point. And I think we have to stop making teachers feel, and I'm not saying that anybody's making them feel, it could be my own internal, when I see something presented a way, I feel like I have to do that exactly the way it's being presented, or big time fail. And no, we have to let teachers know that they can tweak it, modify it, make it their own so it works for them. So I thought, okay, for me, I am surrounded by Post-its. Post-its are by far my most favorite low-tech tool. And I'm very into low-tech, not because I'm against technology, but being a teacher of very young learners, it's extremely important to me that students have authentic and real interactions with materials, and that they're reading real books and they're writing using pencils and paper, because this is all actually brand new to them. So I have, over the years, not become resistant to technology, and I do use technology. And hey, I got my own podcast. I'm using technology, people. But have really been an advocate for why at the young age students need that kind of experience. But I digress. So returning back. So Post-its, I'm surrounded by Post-its. It is my favorite. So so I thought, okay, I'll go to my favorite Post-its and I will leave 4 to 5 positive notes for a student at the end of the day, put it on his or her desk, and then when they come back in from activities, they see it. Now, they can't read it because remember, they're 5 and 6. A couple of them can. They're, all different levels. Some of them not really reading anything. Some of them just kind of recognizing those sight words. So I have to make a mental note that as I dismiss them, I'm going up to the ones with notes so I can read it to them before they leave. And this is a total win. I've gone through my whole class one time. So some of them now I'm on the second time that they're receiving a note. So what I did is I made a class list. Every time I give them a note, I just put a tally mark by their name. It's just a quick way for me to keep track. And I have a binder. If you've been listening for a while, you are familiar with my binder. I keep everything in my binder. So again, I keep this list in my binder so it's never far away. It's easy access. And yeah, just tally mark when I have given a note, and of course it has to be authentic too. It's not like I have to, I'm not going to make things up. And I've had days where I'm like, oh, I only have a couple of kids, but ooh, this one, it was kind of an off day, so I didn't feel. Now, of course, you can find something positive even if a student is having an off day. But I feel like for me, the kids are really excited about receiving these notes now. So I feel like, okay, if a student was having an off day and like the behavior was just, whatever, I can't go there with the positive note, because I want it to feel like, yeah, I worked so hard. I had a great attitude, and I always talk to them about, let's keep a happy heart as much as we can and have good attitudes with our work. So if there was a student, and that's going to happen and it's no fault to them, we all have off days, right? But I feel like I can't give this kind of a note, especially if I saw maybe certain behaviors that day, because I feel like I want them to try to make the connection of like, oh, I get this positive note because I worked really hard in something, whatever the case is. Make it work for you if you want to try it, but that's my system. And total win. And the students they've been loving. They come in and like, oh, they really want these little notes, so they're excited if they see the notes on their desk. And I'm just very happy to have implemented this. So I'm going on 2 weeks now of doing this, and I think I've only had 1 or 2 days where I legitimately really couldn't, because I've been writing the notes at the end of the day when the students are in their last class. But I also, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have team meetings. So those days, it's difficult for me to get notes out because they have Spanish and right before recess. And I'm planning, I do all my, paperworky kind of stuff that's got to get done. It's during that time. And then right after that's recess. If I have recess duty, which every other day I do, then I can't write notes during that time. And then after recess duty, I go straight into my meetings. So you can see where time's limited, but I've still been able to get through all the students in a week. So that's my big win. So what is my big fail? I was negative Nancy all last week. I really was. And you guys know I'm a positive person. If you've been listening, you know this. I'm all about positive psychology, but I was in a funk in it. I know what it was. I can't say it was because of anything, because I feel like, well, if you blame something, you're giving it power over you, and you have to have power over it. So I'm recording on October 29th. We had our big Halloween celebration on Friday. I'm not a huge fan of Halloween. I was about to say I don't totally hate it, but I kind of do totally hate it. I'm just not a fan. I just don't enjoy it. I never really have been a fan of Halloween. It's not my favorite. So I found myself in this very negative Nancy funk last week, just the anticipation of knowing that it was coming. And Friday we don't even teach. We do not teach. The whole day is the parade, the Halloween parade, and then a couple of activities, their little party, and then that's it. It's nothing academic. And yeah, I love teaching so much, and I dislike that kind of stuff, because I'm like, I'm not here for the party. I'm just here for the teaching. I know that sounds awful, because we have to take time to like do things like that. So that's my big fail. I had such a bad attitude. I felt like it affected me the whole week, because it was every day getting closer and closer to this. And I was like, I just want to survive the week. And finally, by Friday, I was like, this is it. I have been in this mode for so long, the entire week. I need to turn it around. So I've been trying a new strategy of like, what if something I dislike I actually liked? Like, trying to psychologically turn it around on me. Like, what if these fine lines around my eyes that I hate, I actually thought were beautiful? So I'm trying to kind of turn things around psychologically. So I figured by Friday, okay, let me try that with this. So I thought, what if I actually loved Halloween? What if I really loved this kind of stuff? And actually, guess what, you guys? I had so much fun on Friday. It is the craziest thing. I enjoyed it. I had so much fun. Also, I dressed up as a hot mess, and that was motivating to me. I don't really want to dress up as anything. And one day I was sitting on my couch and I said, oh, I wish I could just dress up as a hot mess that I am. And it kind of was a joke, but then I thought, wait, how can I actually make that happen? So I did. I used, cartulina, poster board. I had to look that up the other day because I always just say cartulina, that I have forgotten the English word. Poster board, I guess that's the correct English term. And I made flames and I wore it around my neck and my hair was messy. I had 2 different eyeshadow looks going on. My lipstick was a hot mess. It was all over my face and I actually enjoyed it. So Friday I ended up enjoying, and I've never really enjoyed it. I had so much fun. So it was a fail for the week, but in the end, I think I learned something from it. So that's my win and my fail for the week. And hopefully this new segment will not just be helpful for me, but give you something to think about as you proceed in your week.
Okay, you guys, as we start and actually get into the episode, I have to say, I just realized this whole entire time that I've been recording has been with the wrong microphone. I plugged in my microphone, but I did not switch it to the microphone. So in the program I use, Audacity, it will default to the internal laptop microphone unless I actually change it to the USB microphone. And I was wondering as I was playing back, boy, this sounds so boxy and I couldn't figure it out. And granted, I'm not on the snowball right now. I got an email reminding me that those microphones were not meant to be checked out for long periods of time. So return that. So I'm back on my other microphone, but I'm sorry. So the beginning of this episode, if it sounds boxy, it's because I, like almost any time, don't really know what I'm doing. Totally forgot to switch it, and I'm not going to re-record 16 minutes worth of audio. So I did want to explain that though. I guess I can also add that to my week's fails. I don't know. There is that. Okay, so moving on, continuing to what today's episode is truly about, why you need to be on Twitter. So I'm thinking we've all heard of Twitter for a long time. Some of you listening are probably avid Twitter users. And if that's true, I don't know, you might want to skip this episode because it's probably not going to enlighten you on anything. But if you're not on Twitter, but yet you've heard of Twitter and you're like, oh my gosh, I am so sick of hearing about Twitter. I know it's the greatest tool, but would you just stop talking about it? Yeah, I'm going to talk about it because I think I felt the same way where I was like, yeah, I hear about Twitter all the time, kind of sick hearing about Twitter because I was not a Twitter user, so I did not know the power that is Twitter. Okay, so I basically want to begin with this. Twitter, it's like any passionate teacher is going to be on Twitter. And sorry, that's not to say that a teacher who is not passionate about teaching, that they can't actually be passionate if they're not on Twitter. No. Not saying that. But you find passionate teachers on Twitter. And it seems to be the community where you will find groups of teachers. Like, I did not realize that teachers who are trying to advance professionally, and teachers who are passionate, teachers who are content creators, who are trying to get their content out and share it and also learn from the content that is being created by other teachers, that they go to Twitter. Like, this is the place for teachers. I did not realize that. I do understand that there's LinkedIn, and I could be missing out on the power of LinkedIn, although I also in the summer signed up for LinkedIn because, again, I was like, oh gosh, I keep hearing about LinkedIn. Don't want to miss out on that. So signed up, and yeah, it's a place to find other professionals in any professional area that you're at. So I feel like it is very good for just networking and making connections, but I haven't found it to be as powerful as Twitter. It's just like teachers who are like very serious about what they're doing. again, not to say if you're a teacher and you're not on Twitter that you're not serious, but people who are like, hey, I really want to take my professional development outside of my classroom walls or my school building walls more accurately. I want to extend it beyond the school hours. They're on Twitter. That's what you're going to find when you go to Twitter. You're going to find teachers who are like, hey, I want to keep learning. I want to learn about this. I want to talk about this. Like, these are teachers who want to keep going beyond school hours, beyond their 4 classroom walls, beyond the walls and the buildings at their school. That's what's going on in Twitter land, and I never knew this. So I'm sharing this because if you are an educator who's not on Twitter, but you're someone who, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're not on Twitter, you probably fit that profile of someone, because otherwise, why would you want to be listening to this, right? Like, this is probably boring unless you're someone who wants to professionally develop beyond what is being offered at your school. And I'm not trying to say that my podcast show is giving you this great PD. No, I'm not about that. I do hope that my experience and what I share can extend and give someone something. Obviously, that's why I do that, and for free. Like I've said, because I know some people, and it's okay for people who are accepting sponsors. And I'm not saying that I won't ever accept a sponsor, but that's not why I started this. It's not why I'm doing it. I don't have sponsors. If you want to look at it this way, I'm losing money because I'm paying to be hosted. So it's just a way for me to kind of get, my ideas, share my experience, share my struggles. I don't have all the answers, but I can share my own perspective, which is going to be different from other perspectives, and I feel like we can learn from different perspectives. So it's not me saying this is the best PD out there. It's just offering what I personally can offer. And again, I listen to other education podcasts because I want to learn from them. So I feel like if we're listening from a mix of different things, we can learn from them. So if you're listening to this, you probably do fit that profile of I want to continue growing and learning as an educator. And that is also what you're going to find on Twitter, in the Twitter land. And it's amazing. And that's what I want to really talk about. So the first thing that I want to say is, regardless of maybe your fears or your questions or your concerns about Twitter, I suggest that if you do not have a Twitter account, number one, go on there and just create an account. Okay, just create one. Step number one, create one. Now, perhaps you're like me and you're like, yeah, like 15 years ago, I created this Twitter account, but I've used it once or twice. So in that case, you've done step one, you have your account. Step two is give yourself time to play around with Twitter, because you're not going to learn anything about Twitter without just playing around with it. Now, here are some things, if I can maybe share some of where I went wrong and what didn't work and what did work, that maybe perhaps you can do to save yourself time. Now, you can use Twitter probably in many different ways. I'm thinking like marketers, I've noticed, will start to follow me and then unfollow me. So I think I figured out that marketers will like to go on there and find what's happening, and I guess they're like trying to figure out strategies, and maybe if they're a marketer for education things, they're trying to see what are educators talking about. So like if you're a marketer, that's probably how you would use Twitter, I'm guessing, by the odd number of marketers who start to follow me, who I don't follow back because I'm not using my Twitter account in that way. So depending on what you're doing, you're going to use it a certain way. But if you're listening to this, you're probably not a marketer. Well, in that sense, maybe you are. But speaking to the educator who's interested in Twitter, if you want to use your Twitter account to really just extend what you're doing as an educator, then what you're going to be doing is you're looking for other educators. Okay, look for other educators, and it's going to feel like very small in the beginning, and it's maybe go in there knowing that as you start to build your Twitter world, that it's not going to start off powerful. You're going to be like, what is this? Tammy told me it's one thing, and it's, yeah, I got like 2 people on Twitter. Like, what's going on? But you have to actually build this network first, and that's how it's going to happen. It's going to happen very slowly. So look for educators. Hey, you can start with me. My Twitter handle is at Tammy, Tamij 123. Is that not the most creative handle ever? Just kidding. I think I go for simplicity almost in everything in my life. My Twitter handle being evidence of that. But so you're gonna look for educators. Now here's a trick that you can do. When you follow an educator, look to see who they are following. Okay, because they're going to be following other educators. So at first it seems like this is very daunting. It won't be. There's going to be what I like to call a snowball effect. You start following a few educators, and then you can go in and see who they're following, because they're following other educators. Those are probably educators who you might be interested in, and then just go in there and follow those educators. And then you're going to start to get a bunch of who to follow recommendations. These people are going to pop up on your screen, and it's based on the kind of profile of people who you're following. So if you start to follow a bunch of educators, all of a sudden you're going to see other educators popping up on your who to follow. Still check out their profile, because they may or may not fit what you want to follow. And I'm finding that, I want to follow a certain kind of profile. So, I really check out the profiles of those. I don't just click on, and probably nobody does. I would say it's not the best strategy. You want to be careful. And also sometimes I will get pop-ups of strange things. So I don't know exactly what the formula is, but I know it's very clear that it's based on who you follow, and then there might be other factors involved. Sometimes I'll get a lot of educational companies, and I don't usually follow those companies because I feel like, well, they're here to sell. When I have stuff like that pop up, I don't follow them. A lot of times when you follow someone, they will follow you back, so you can get new followers that way. But just know that it can be slow, depending on how much time you're putting into Twitter. So that's okay. That's fine. Okay, so that's kind of like 1 and 2, starting a Twitter account and then starting to follow educators. Those are points 1 and 2. Okay, now the next point number 3, join Twitter chats. This is where I feel like the magic and the power of Twitter is happening in Twitter chats. This is where, I feel like I haven't even truly yet realized the whole power of Twitter, although I have with my, making a goal of, my goal has been 1 Twitter chat a week, although I've been doing like 2 to 4 a week, and this is because my goals, as I'm starting something out, I don't want to set a goal that's going to be overwhelming and unrealistic, and hence setting it up for failure, like do 15 chats a week. Probably not gonna do 15 chats a week, so let's make a goal and do like little baby steps at a time, because then, if I start out with a goal of 1 Twitter chat and I'm actually doing 2 to 4 a week, sometimes more, then from there I can increase my goal, and it just helps me to improve and sets me up for success. So join a Twitter chat, join an education Twitter chat. These are where they are basically hosted by educators, and some of them are a half hour long, some of them are an hour long. And this is just where I feel like so much magic happens. This is where they'll ask questions, teachers answer. As they answer, you're going to see things that they do, and you might start questioning them like, oh, hey, can you share a picture of you doing that thing you just shared, or can you tell me more about it? And this is where I've gotten some really good ideas. Like I said in the wins and fails of the week segment, still very happy about that new segment. I talked about how I started to leave positive notes to students daily. And this was an idea that I got from a Twitter chat that I was in. And so like you just never know what little nuggets of ideas or new information. But these Twitter chats are where you're just like getting so many ideas to try, and it's like professional development, and it's not at the school. It's like you're seeking these professional development opportunities. You go to it virtually. I mean, like you're finding it, you're seeking it out. You don't have to wait for professional development to happen to you. You can make it happen. And these Twitter chats are usually in a question and answer format where they'll put out question 1 and give you the question, and then you answer it in an answer format A1, and you give your response, and it just goes until the last question. And I have to say a couple of things about that, because if you're listening to this and you've never done it, you might be asking, okay, but how do I do a Twitter chat, and how do I know when there is a Twitter chat? So let me answer that for you. There is a calendar, probably more than one calendar, but I use one that's called Education Chats, and it is a Google site of education chats, and it breaks it down by day of the week. You can see the week or a month, and it gives you different time zones. So you can look up, basically what day of the week. So that's one way to find it. Another thing is once you start having, once you're following quite a few people, you're going to see them engage in chats. Sometimes I will see this happening, and you see a chat going on, and you're like, oh, there's a chat going on, looks interesting, I'm going to join. But what I like to do, the chats that I find, and usually they're recurring chats, so I plug them into my calendar, my Google Calendar, and I set it up to repeat, so I don't have to keep track of all of these chats. There are so many. I don't have to keep track of it. I just kind of look at my calendar, and once I've been in a chat that I really like, just plug it into the calendar and keep track of it. I'll put the hashtag, whatever the chat is. Like this morning, I did the EduBunch, hashtag EduBunch at 10 a.m. There was a Sunday chat one, hashtag SunChat, that I missed, a Hack Learning Sunday chat that I miss almost every Sunday because it's 7:30 a.m. my time, and I'm not quite up on Twitter at that time. I'm usually up, but like around 7 is when I get up, and boy, it takes time to let those eyeballs adjust to the day. So that's one that I've made it maybe once in my life. Other ones that I've been really liking. There's a mastery chat, I believe, on Thursday that I keep missing because I keep thinking that it's on Friday. I don't know why I keep doing that. I feel like I've only managed to be there once or twice, and I really like it. I think it's at 7 p.m. Central Time. But anyway, so I find a chat that I like, and I put it on my calendar. And the thing is, after you go a few times, you start seeing a lot of the same persons will frequent these chats because they'll, become likers of those chats as well. So it's kind of neat because then you start running into, these persons. And then from those chats, you can make new contacts. You can start following those who you're interested in following. They may follow you, and then you're just getting excellent PD out of it. Okay, so I'm going to share in the show notes this education chat calendar in case you're interested to look up chats. Some of them could be outdated, I don't know, because some of them I find I've looked up and I'm like, oh, but it's actually not happening. But I think it's pretty well updated. Just know that you could find that maybe something is only every other Monday or every other Tuesday, whatever. But like I said, then also on your Twitter feed, you'll start seeing people advertise chats that are coming up. They're like, okay, this November 5th, this is happening. So you'll be able to kind of keep up with that and plug it into your calendar that way. But in any case, I will share in the show notes the education chat calendar for you to refer to. Now, in terms of actually partaking in a chat, I don't do it within Twitter itself. I find it almost impossible. Twitter chats go by really fast, you guys, most of the time. So you have to just kind of go in knowing that they're fast. And on your Twitter feed, you are going to have so many different hashtags come up and post and this and that. So you could, I guess, in Twitter where it says search Twitter, you could do hashtag in whatever the chat is. So if it's like my I don't have a Twitter chat, but if it's, let's say it's one that I like, just go back to the EduBunch. Okay, so I could put hashtag EduBunch in the search, and that would bring up any post that have that hashtag in it. But that is not, and I don't know if anyone does their chats that way. I do not do my chats that way. I use another app that's actually right on my desktop, and you could probably use it on your phone or iPad. I don't know. I only participate in Twitter chats on my computer. So I go to something called tweetchat.com. So these are like very specific platforms to help make Twitter chats easier. So you go in there, it'll say, welcome to Tweet Chat, where the world comes to chat. And it gives you a place to enter your hashtag. So you would hashtag whatever you are going to. I'm going to stick to the what did I say? What is it? EduBunch? Bunch. Goodness. Okay, EduBunch. So I would type that in, and then it takes me to a screen where all of the EduBunch hashtags will be curated right into that screen. So it keeps me, I don't have to like focus on any other hashtags or anything else. I'm just, anything that gets, has an EduBunch hashtag on it is going to show up into this, almost like you can think of it as a chat room, basically is what it is. And then I just chat right into that. It makes life so much easier because they all get in. And when you're in that platform, you will not have to type hashtag EduBunch with every post. That hashtag will be built into all your posts. So it's a nice way of chatting within that hashtag. So that's how you would actually do it. Now there are other platforms that you can use, but this is the one that I use, and I find it's very easy to engage in a chat and keep up with all that is going on in that chat. And so that basically is point number 3. Join Twitter chats, because that's where a lot of the magic is going to happen. You are going to be able to engage in these conversations related to different, whatever topic it is for that chat. They're based on different topics. Some are technology, some are, like today's chat was about student-centered. So lots of different really good topics, and you learn from the other educators, and then they can become new connections. Like you might run into these educators in these chats all the time, and you start following each other. The last thing that I want to talk about is when you have your following and those who you are following, it's also a great way to share. If you're producing content, you can share it through Twitter. Now I would really kind of say, I don't think you should go to Twitter just to be pushing content out. And I don't think there might be some people who do, but I feel like that's not a good reason to turn to Twitter. Although if you're an educator and you create education content or content for educators. Obviously, your audience, that's who your audience is, so it's a great way to connect. But I just feel like there should be a bigger reason to going to Twitter, and it's really to like grow professionally. As a side, yes, this can be people who will be interested in your content. Even though I'm a podcaster, as you know, and a blogger, you know, for those like 2 or 3 times during the school year that I blog, I very rarely share that with those in the chat. Like, I feel like I don't want to go into chat and be like, hey, check out this episode. I very rarely reference. I will reference my work if I feel like it super fits into what we're talking about and be like, hey, I actually did a whole episode on that. But where I'm genuinely wanting to share the information, not trying to push my stuff off on anyone. So I like very rarely will share with anyone that I'm a podcaster, because I'm not going in there because I'm like, hey, listen to my stuff, it's so good, people. No, I'm just genuinely, I'm trying to connect. So I feel like it's okay. And when I have a new episode, I will share it on Twitter. So I will put that out there, but I'm not like every chance I get, hey, listen to this. Hey, look at this. Hey, I did that. No, it's just when I have a new episode, that episode gets tweeted out. If someone's interested in it, great. When I'm in Twitter chats, I very rarely will reference my work, because I'm not there to reference my work. I'm really there to learn and grow from others. So, I think if you're really trying to truly connect because you're interested in growing and learning from others, you will also maybe find an audience that way. But I feel like it should be more accidental. Hey, you can tell I'm not a marketer, right? Because it's probably the opposite of what anyone would tell you to do. If you're looking to build your audience, which we want to do, I'm just not someone who likes to self-promote. I'm into authenticity and things just kind of happening because it's genuine. And granted, no one is going to follow my content if they're not interested in it, but I just kind of feel like I like things happening naturally. I'm all about transparency. I am all about authenticity. So definitely, if you're really trying to market something you're doing, you probably don't want to follow my advice. But I have to say there's something to be said about being genuine and not, I guess because myself, I'm like, if I feel like someone's just self-promoting, it's a huge turn off for me. You can build an audience because if you're creating content for educators are on Twitter. So obviously there's an audience right there. But I just feel like don't go to Twitter just to push out your content on people. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's great to build connections and learn from others. My main goal with Twitter is not to build an audience. My goal is I want to genuinely connect with educators and learn from them. It doesn't mean that I'm not sharing my content and I don't hope to build my audience there, but that's not my reason. Be authentic, be genuine. Self-promotion is very easy to pick up on, and it's not attractive. But if you're only going to Twitter because you're trying to build a following base, I mean, I guess it goes behind whatever your intent is. If you're using Twitter to build an audience, then who am I to stop you? But just personally, I'm not attracted to that. And if I see that someone's just self-promoting, then I'm not interested in that. But if there's someone who creates content, but they're also engaging in conversations, learning from others, but yet sharing their work, I will be interested in that. I will. Absolutely, I will be. And then there's probably other people who don't care. So, I just go with who I am and what I know and what I do, and that is authenticity, being genuine. That is what I find appealing in any personality, so in transparency. All of those things I find appealing. But granted, we all have different personality types, and what works for me is not going to work for someone else. And maybe someone else is going to be all for self-promotion. I don't know. I just honestly feel like that's not the best reason to go to Twitter. I think I'm going to conclude on that. That was really just the 4 things that I really want to talk about was Twitter is a game changer for me. It really is, you guys. Like if you're someone who is looking to grow professionally and you want to do it, not necessarily that you want to do it outside of the walls of your school, but if you're someone like me who's like, I'm not going to wait for PD to happen to me. I'm going to grow and I'm going to look for those opportunities. I'm going to take the opportunities that are given to me, but I'm going to make it happen. Then that's what Twitter is for teachers. You're going to find teachers who are so passionate about what they're doing, who are learning from others, who are sharing what they're doing, and you are going to grow so much more as a professional than if you stayed in the four walls of your classroom, or if you limited your PD to what's happening at your school or your district level. It's happening at Twitter, you guys. I just can't tell you, like, these are the most passionate educators who I have ever ran into. I mean, they're educators of every classroom teachers. They are, maybe coordinators of technology. They are coaches. They are principals. They are superintendents. These are people who are so passionate about what they're doing, and they yearn to connect with other educators just as passionate. If you fit that profile and you're not on Twitter, I'm telling you now, go to Twitter, because you will be so happy to find a community. Go to Twitter. That's where you will find them. Connect to Twitter. So sign up. And I know I said that was my last point, but actually there's one more point that I'd like to touch on, and that is these different book camps, PD, that they do on Twitter. So they actually, it's like, basically think of a PLC. There's these groups who will read an education book, and then they do chats on that. So it's like a PLC around some type of education book. I am very interested, and it looks like there's a new one that's coming up. I'm actually trying to check my Twitter notifications because someone tweeted me. I'd been asking, I kind of expressed in chat that, like, I'd really like to do this, but I have not really had, I never know like when one is starting, and yeah, I just haven't been able to do it. So someone tweeted me some information. I'm going through my notifications, try to find it. If I can, I'll share that in the show notes as well. So if you want to jump on that, you can. #BookCampPD. So this is another way to grow as an educator. So you're no longer limited to what maybe PLCs are happening at your school, but if there is an education book and a PD going on Twitter about that, you can join and partake in it. And I just feel like it's so awesome. I just didn't realize this stuff was happening before on Twitter, and it's a game changer, people. It has changed me as an educator. All right, you guys. So just to kind of sum it up, I'm going to wrap it up. This is what we talked about in terms of why you need to be on Twitter. Number one, well, this actually doesn't answer why, but just go and sign up. Just do it. Number two, once you sign up, just start following educators. Okay, look up educators. If you want to start with me, that's fine. You do not have to. I am at Tamij, TAMIJ 123. Number three, join Twitter chats, and remember that you'll want to go to tweet chat as a format to actually, it's like a tweet deck. Maybe there is one that's actually called a tweet deck. Use that or some other format to conduct your Twitter chats. And also there's that chat calendar that I'm sharing on the show notes. And then I said one good thing is that as you start to accumulate followers, you will have access to whatever content they're putting out. They will have access to your content. This is how we grow, people. This is how we grow. And then number five, the book camps, these book camp PDs, where you can participate in a network of educators on Twitter who are running a PLC on some type of education book. I haven't done that yet. I'm looking to do that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really do hope that you will make the leap and join Twitter land. You won't be disappointed. All right, we'll see you next time.
Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Before you go, don't forget you can catch our show notes online at www.timetoteach.libsyn. That's libsyn.com. We're also on Facebook at Time to Teach. Don't forget to check out our Facebook group, Teachers for Effective Curriculum. And if you're an educator with your own podcast show, I invite you to join our brand new Facebook group, Teachers Who Podcast. Let's grow a community where we can network, problem solve, and discuss anything and everything podcast related. I'll see you there.